Kakadosh Boker Tov Masechet Yevamot Daf Kuf Kaf Aleph Amud Aleph 121a1. Okay, we are on the two dots, which is the 3 lines down. Rabbi Yudah Omer, right? Rabbi Yudah ben Baba Omer, Lo Kol Adam Lo Kol 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 Shod, which means that how much time does it transpire until you're prohibited, not prohibited, but it doesn't work that you're going to testify about the person passing away. So Rabbi Yudah ben Baba said every person is different. Sometimes a person was exposed to the sun, and therefore you can't even recognize the body. Sometimes it was burnt. Sometimes, many different things. So because of that, you don't know. Fine. So says the Gemara. Ibailahu. We're on the 4th line. We're asking a question. Yudah ben Baba lekula palig or lechumra palig? Was Rabbi Yudah ben Baba going lekula, which means that he's arguing on the Tanakama and he's going lekula, which means that, according to Tanakama, you only have 3 days. And according to Rabbi Yudah ben Baba, no. Sometimes you can have longer. It all depends. Depends when they passed away. Depends what was the circumstances, winter, summer, right, so on and so forth. Or was it only that he argued in Tanakama lechumra, which means Tanakama said you have it until 3 days, and comes Rabbi Yudah ben Baba, he says, what are you talking about? Sometimes it could be even within the 3 days and it's something else. So was Rabbi Yudah ben Baba going lechumra or lekula? So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Tahu gavra de tava de karmeh. Yeah, there was a person that he was tava in Karmeh. Karmeh is the name of a city. So he drowned in this city of Karmeh. They brought up the body after 3 days that was in the water. And Rav Dimi ben Arda came and he got his wife married off with the witnesses. Yeah, the two. And furthermore, there was also another case. Then what? There was a person that drowned in Chidekel. This is Diglat, is the Chidekel, not Chidekel. And they brought up the body by the Gesher of Shavistana. Okay? And Rava got his wife married through the Shushbinim of the husband that they recognized the body. Even after 5 days. So you see from here, it's not anymore 3 days. Even after 5 days, they went and they brought it, right? They went and they testified and everything. So I understand now that you could say it's lekula. Why? Because that's why you did, right? Dinu Davi, because they did like a real above. Tanakama said maximum 3. Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, 3 días. And all of a sudden now he's coming and saying, no, he was even 5 days. Because it all depends on the circumstances. So he says, maybe you're going to tell me that it's lechumra. So who did they go like that? So answers the Gemara, Shane Maya Titzamte, the opposite, right? The body, if it's inside of the water, it's even better because what it does is that because of the cold of the water, it makes that it stays intact and that it's actually going to be like making it smaller. So therefore what happens is that it's not going to make that the face will become bloated or change the place, and the opposite. So therefore you could actually recognize the body for longer. That's what he's saying. Because water is not just like stam that it was outside and after you come and you could hardly even tell the face. No, yeah. So ask the Gemara, says, what are you talking about? I thought that you told me that the water made the makkah heavier. You remember we spoke about that if a person went into water, right, after he was all cut up, kamarnu, right? It's much worse because the water will destroy even more, right? Will make the body even. So he said, no, hanamila, that's only if there's a makkah. But if it doesn't have a makkah, mitzmat samit, it actually makes it that it's not going to become bloated. It makes it that it's going to become like smaller, like to contract. Hanamila, and also these are the words. You only saw it immediately when you took it out of the water. But if you left it in the air after you took it out of the water, and that means you didn't immediately recognize, how do you say what's the word? You didn't recognize, you didn't identify, thank you. You didn't identify the body, mitfach tafach. Then it does bloat up, right? Even after the water, then it's going to be also problematic. Okay? Very good. Mishnah. Mishnah, Kuf Kaf Aleph Amud Aleph, Mishnah. Nafal Lamayim. Yeah, what happens right now if a person falls into the water? Now they don't see that he comes up. He fell into the water. They don't see that he comes up. Ben sheyesh lahem sof or ben she'en lahem sof. Doesn't matter whether it's water that has an end or that does not have an end. Mayim sheyesh lahem sof is a guf mayim that it's so small that all the arba gilutav you could see it with your eyes, basically, right? That means you could actually see it. That's mayim sheyesh lahem sof. Okay, mayim she'en lahem sof is so great, right, that the Ed cannot see all the different places. I mean, it's like, the big rivers, the seas. You can't even see it. It's, Elmaleh himself. You're looking at it is huge. Yeah.
He's talking about wide, not big.
So it says so again, a person falls into the water. Whether the Yeshlam Sof, Elam Sof, Ishto Asura. The wife is still going to be prohibited. Right? Why? Because maybe he's still alive. You don't know. Maybe he's still alive. Amar Bimi. Says Rabbi Maaseh be'echad shenafal lebora gadol. Right? There was a story that somebody fell into a pit of water. He came up after 3 days. Yeah? You know what that means? It means a person fell into a pit of water and he came up after 3 days from the pit of the water. So Amar Rabbi Yosef, says Rabbi Yosef, Maaseh besuma she'ala libol be'me'ara. Do you know what once happened to a blind person? He went into a me'ara, to a cave to do tevilah. Yarad moshcho acharav. So the one that's teaching him went behind him. They were there in order to pass away, basically. The Mishnah doesn't say how long does that means. And therefore, even though they never saw the bodies, they never found the bodies, right? The rabbis got their wives married in the chazakah that they passed away, basically. So you see from here, right, that as long as they were there watching that they went into such a place, come on. So basically, Rabbi Yosef obviously is arguing with Rabbi, right? Now, there's another story also, right? In Asya, which the person that they went and they put him into the sea, with a chevel, and then when they pulled it out, it was only the foot. The foot was the only thing that came out. So the Chachamim came and said, if you pulled out from the Arkuva and above, which means even above the how do you call the knee and above, which means that you got the majority of the leg, basically, because you have the leg plus above the knee. So then Tina said she's allowed to get married. Why? Because for sure he's going to die from it. But she cannot, because he could still survive. Says the Gemara, we're going to try to learn in a Braita. Because remember, we had a machloket in the Mishnah. If a person fell into the water, whether they had at the end or not. Yeah, he comes and he says, Ishto Asura. The wife is permitted. These are the words that are mean. Chachamim say, no, there's a difference. Mayim sheyesh lahem sof, Ishto muteret. If there's water that has sof, the wife is going to be muteret. Why? Because the fact that you didn't see anybody come up, but you could see it. If you could see the shores, you could see everything all sides, and you're looking, and nobody comes up. He fell into it. Right? So obviously he drowned. Right? He didn't come up. Yeah. So therefore, what? Ishto muteret. Okay. Why? Because you thought that he drowned, and really, further up down, he got out. And how do you know? He already got out. So says the Gemara, what is mayim sheyesh lahem sof? Amar Abaye kol she'omed vero'eh ma'arba ruchotav. Mayim sheyesh lahem sof means that you could see all corners of the body of water from where you're standing. So if you're standing and you could see all parts of the body of the water, so that's called mayim sheyesh lahem sof. Another story. There was a person that he drowned in an agam. Agam is a swamp. Now we didn't see, right? We didn't see enough that it's enough that he could pass away. Rav Shila actually went and got his wife married off. So Elmaleh Rav Shmuel says to Shmuel, right? Let's put him in Nidui. Why? He didn't act properly. So Elmaleh says, Nishlach lebereisha. First, let's try to see was it true or not. So Shalchule, Mayim she'en sof, they asked him, Mayim she'en lahem sof, is the wife permitted or prohibited? Shalach lehu, he said, Ishto asura. So then they asked him, Te'agma desamke, Mayim shesh lehem sof. What about this agam, the swamp? Is it considered mayim shesh lehem sof or shalach lehem mayim shesh sofu? It's considered mayim shesh lehem sof. So then they asked him, more my time. So then why did you permit the wife then? If you hold that a swamp is like mayim shesh lehem sof, so why? And that means that ishto asura. So why did you permit the woman? So says the Gemara, mita taina. I made a mistake. Ana savre, kevan de kavu v'kaimi. I held that since the may of the agam, they're still, meaning it's not running water. It's a swamp, so it stays in the same place. What? Amare. Amare. Right? That means basically that it's not a current. There's no current. The waters are not moving. Right? So he says, Kemaim, sheyesh lehem sof dami. So it's like considered mayim sheyesh lehem sof. Veloi, but it's not true. Kevan diika gale, because there are waves also in a swamp. Did you know it? There's waves. Ema gale ashpala. I would say that the gal was mashpiloto, which means that it threw him into a place which is outside of where you could actually see it. And therefore maybe be'emet he was alive there. So Kadesh Shmuel aled Rav lo yoneh tzaddik kolavin. Right? So basically what happened? One more time. Right? Shmuel went, right? Rav went and he told Shmuel, let's put him in cherem, right? In excommunication. But what happened was now Shmuel comes and he says on Rav, nothing bad will ever happen to a tzaddik. Because he wanted to put him in Nidui, and at the end it wasn't going to be for a good reason. Because at the end he thought it was a mistake. It was something, but it was a reason for it. You know that? So therefore what happened is that really be'emet what's going on is that he said, Lo yunel tzaddik olav, nothing bad will ever, no takala will ever happen to a tzaddik, nothing bad. The Kared Avaled Shmuel and Rav said about Shmuel, Utshua berov yoetz. My salvation came because in the zechut that I asked for advice, right, from Shmuel. So you see from here that it's good always to ask for advice, because many times through advice you can be saved. And that's what we just found here. Okay? Tanya, we learned in the Braita. Amar Rabbi says, Maaseh b'shnei bnei Adam, there's a story with two people, mechamrin michmorim, that they were putting like traps, nets in the water to trap fish. By Yarden in the Jordan River. ונכנס אחד מהם למחילה של דגים. ושתה חמה ולא ראה פתחה של מחילה. So what happened was he went inside and he was getting all the fish, and all of a sudden he stayed there, and it was שקיעת החמה, and he didn't see the entrance, so he had to stay there the entire night. ושעה חברו כדי שתצא נפשו. So the friend waited there until he was certain that the guy was going to be dead. So he comes and he told the family, sorry, this is what happened. Right? In the next morning, you see the sun. He saw it. He comes out, he goes to his house, and they're doing a big sped for him. Yeah, they're doing a big eulogy for him. Yeah, and he's coming home. Right? This is called Baharub Beraglav. It's a saying, famous saying, that the guy that's dead, he came on his legs. By the way, this actually happened with clinical death, something incredible. There was somebody in Morocco that his nickname was El Muerto, the dead one. Right? Why? I told this to you, if you remember why. Because basically what happened was the guy died, and they're taking him in the coffin to be buried, and all of a sudden they hear, and they don't understand what's going on. Yeah. And so because of that, they dropped the coffin and they all went running. The guy came out of the coffin, right? And he lived for another, I don't know, remember if it was between 10 and 20 years. He lived another, I don't know how many years. So that's why there's such a thing as clinical death and mamash, death. Really bemet? Yeah. Yeah. Because it's so boring over there. So what happened was this, Amar Rabbi says, Kama gedolim divrei hachamim. Look how great are the words of the rabbis. That they said, Mayim sheyesh lehem sof, that the water is yesh lehem sof, the wife is permitted, but imen lehem sof ishto asura. Why? Because here you see that they were kilu, no, he died. Well, he died. He didn't die. He came back alive. Okay? If so, Mayim sheyesh lehem sof nami. Lechush mechila shel dagim. Says 1 second. Why don't we suspect that also there was a mechila shel dagim also in Mayim sheyesh lehem sof? So why did they permit? Yeah, you understand? I mean, basically, what's going on over here? This is the mechila shel dagim. It says over here, Sfat Nahar is above the water, right, is above, and the dagim are going to be in a mechila, which is basically going to be, but it's going to be open. So therefore, basically, what happens is that the entire mechila is not filled with water, which is basically it's like a hole. I remember it's like it makes like an air pocket. That basically what happens is that it's the water. The water is like this, and then basically there's a hole that basically you could pick your head up and you could actually breathe. Right? That means basically that there's air. So that's where he was the entire time. He just couldn't sit outside. So he had to stay there the entire night, right? In this mechila shel dagim. You understand? And then the next morning he was able to get out. And that's what he got out. So he comes in and he sees his entire family that they're doing a sped for him, right? So says the Gemara, the mayim sheyesh lehem sof mechila shel dagim lo shchicha. Says no. If it's mayim that they have a sof, meaning that you could see like a swamp or a lake or things like that, they don't have usually mechila shel dagim. Right? It's not common, and therefore you're not going to suspect that he was saved in such a fashion. So Amar Ravashi says, that which Rabbi said, that if there's no sof, the wife is prohibited. That's only by a regular person. But if you have a rabbi, they don't prohibit. They actually prohibit the wife. Why? Right? The sisalik kalaitle. He says because if Be'emet he did come up, everybody will find out about it. Meaning, if it was a rabbi that was saved, everyone will find out about it. Therefore, the fact that nobody found out about it, we permit the wife. Why do we permit the wife? Because for sure he actually did pass away. Okay? But says the Gemara, velohi, but it's not true. Which means like this. If she already got married, right, al pi the edut that he drowned, so then it's going to be okay with the avad. But lechatechila, we're not going to permit her to get married. Why? Because we suspect that maybe Be'emet he was going to be saved. Okay?
She's already married.
Tanya, we learned to the Braita. I was once going on a boat. And I found another sfina that started drowning. So I was very upset that there was Tamir Chacham there. Who was it? Rabbi Akiva. Right? Now, when I went up in the Yabasha, right? What happened was he came and he started judging in front of me. He started asking in front of me. I told him, Beni, he said, my son, who brought you from the sea? You drowned. How did you come up? Amali, he said, right? There was a keresh of the svina. I got a board. Right? There was a piece of wood that broke off of the boat. I grabbed it, and that's what helped me. On every single gal that came, I bowed my head, which means I let it come over me. You don't fight against the galim, because then you're going to be tossed around. Rather, you go under it. So therefore, that's what I did. And therefore the Chachamim said, Im yavo reshaim shel adam. Im yavo reshaim al adam, yinaneh alayin rosho. If a rasha comes to a human being, bend your head. Bow your head. Right? Why? Don't start up with him. Because afterwards it's going to pass. You just bow your head and don't worry about it. So Marti comes exactly. Marti be'ota shah, he said in a time, Kama gdolim divrei chachamim shamru ma'im shesh le'msof muteret, ma'im shesh le'msof asura. Because look, Rabbi Akiva actually came out and he was like for sure that that's it. The guy was dead. No, he came out alive. Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Amar Rabbi Akiva says Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, pa'am achat hayiti me'alech besfina. I was once going on a sfina. Yeah, he comes and he says, I was going on the sfina. And I saw a boat that was being torn up in the sea. The same thing. And who was it? When I went to Kaput Kaya, he started judging with me. Right? He comes to me, he starts speaking the halacha. Martin, I told him, who brought you up? Amali, he told me, Gal teradani lechavero, lechavero lechavero, ad shekiyuni lebasha. The waves were playing a game with me. So one wave pushed me to the other one to the other one, until it spit me out into the sea. Amarti be'ota shah, he said, so Rabbi Akiva now says, Kama gdolim v'chachamim shamru, ma'im shesh le'ensof shel muter v'shel le'ensof, ishto asura. Yeah? Right? Fine. We learned to the Braita. Nafale govarayot. Imagine a person fell into a lion's den. Govarayot. And meidin alav. We don't testify that he died in order to permit the wife, because we're going to suspect that maybe they weren't that hungry. Yeah, we're going to suspect he was saved. What about into a pit that's full of snakes and scorpions? Meidin alav. We do testify that he died, right? Why? Because for sure he wasn't going to be saved, right, from the nechashim and akrabim. We're going to suspect 121b. Shema chabaru. Maybe he knows that to be mechaber the nechashim and akrabim in one place, right, and therefore he's going to, like, through magic put them in one place and nothing's going to happen to him. Tanakama, but according to Tanakama, agav itzitza, right, mazkele. The fact that he fell on top of them or whatever it was, they're for sure going to damage him. It's basically he bothered them. If he wanted to bother them, maybe. But here, for sure, he bothered them. There's nothing what to do. We learned in the Braita. Nafal. We learned in the Braita. Nafal tokiv shanayesh. If a person fell inside of a furnace, right, a burning furnace, meidin alav. We're going to testify about him, right? But if he fell inside of a pot, which is full of liora, which is a dud gadol, a big huge pot, full of wine or oil, meidin alav. Also, we're going to testify about it. So means that in both of these cases, we just testified that the guy died because he was cooked to death. Yeah, Mishum Rabbi Amru, by the name of Rabbi Yacha, they said, Shel Shemen Nidu, because that's mamash oil. That's it. Mipnei Shehu Mavir, because the oil makes it cook even more, right? But if it's going to be wine, Emidin Lav. Why? Because wine is mechabed the fire. So wine is exact opposite. It's mechabed, so therefore it's not going to cook him so well. Sorry. Amru Allah, thank you. Amru Allah, tchilato mechabed besofo mavir. They said, what are you talking about? At the beginning, wine puts down the fire, but then it makes it even stronger. So therefore, it's not true. But then that's why when you put, water or wine, whatever it is, on a fire, at the beginning it starts turning it off, but then afterwards it makes it even better. So that's why he says you can. Okay. Amar Rabbi Meir says Rabbi Meir, somebody that fell inside of a pit and he came up after 3 days. So Tanya, when you can write up, they told me, he said, okay, fine, but that's a nest. I mean, that's a miracle. It doesn't happen like that always. So says the Gemara, my master nisim, what does it mean, master nisim? Eli, you're going to tell me not that he didn't eat and he didn't drink. Esther Malka comes and tells all Bnei Israel, don't fast, don't eat for 3 days. So for you, that's not a miracle, right? Ela, but rather, that he didn't sleep. Ta'amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, right? If a person comes and he makes a shivua that he's not going to sleep for 3 days, right? They come and they give him lashes immediately. It's for sure it's a shivua shav. And then he sleeps immediately. Why? Because it's impossible to go 3 days without sleeping. Eating and drinking, yes, you could do it, but not without sleep. So this had to be a miracle. But according to me, my time what's reasoning, I'm kind of says, kipim al gav kipinam. These that means inside of the bowl, there was like different things which basically a person could lean upon them and sleep. So therefore, it wasn't a miracle. Meaning there's little tiny, I don't know how you want to call them exactly. It's like a kishatot al kishatot. It's like inside of the bowl, there's like different like structures that you can lean upon it and go to sleep. For Rabbanan, but according to the rabbis, the sheshav, it was of shaish. So since it's shaish is marble, it's very halak, so you can't sleep on it. It will just fall off and sit. Come on. According to Rabbi Meir, it's impossible that it could be that he couldn't sleep at all. So if it wasn't such a miracle, right? Why? He slept a little bit. Yeah? Fine. We're going to the right. There was a story with the daughter of the that she fell inside of such a bowl. And they went and they told her and Nusa. So he went, Shalom. The first hour he said, she's still okay. Shalom. She came out of the pit. Right? And that's exactly what happened. Amala, so they brought her in front of Ruchani. Amala, he said, Biti, Mielcha, who brought you up? Amralo, she said, Zachar Shelechelim Nizdamer. There was an eye that got me. Vezaken Manigo, there was an elderly person that was bringing it, and he brought me up. Amrulo, they said, Naviata. So obviously, this sounds like it's like here it says the Zachar Shelechelim is Elosh Yitzchak Avinu, and the Zaken was Avraham Avinu. I mean, she was saved because of Akedat Yitzchak and because of the zechut of Avraham Avinu. Now the question is, why? What's going on here? So he says, Elmaleh, what? Are you a Navi? How did he know she was going to survive? She wasn't going to die. Elmaleh, no, Navi Anochi, I'm not a Navi, no ben Navi Anochi, I'm not a son of a Navi. Ella דבר שאתה צדיק מתעסק בו, ייכשל בו זרעו. He says, I don't understand. His father was Nechunya Chofer Borot for Ole Regalim. His father used to dig the pits for the Ole Regalim. All the people that used to come up to Israel, they needed drinking water. He used to dig drinking water pits in order to have drinking water so they could drink. He says, does it make sense the father is going to come and do a mitzvah? And in the exact same thing that he does the mitzvah and his own children will fall in and Kaddish? Doesn't make sense. That's why he says, I'm not a Navi. Samar Rabbi Abba says, Rabbi Abba, even though that's what he said, his son died with thirst. So that means even this person, his son did die out of thirst. Shneimar says in a pasuk, what does that mean? The people that are around the Kodesh Baruch Hu is very, very strict. And I mentioned Kodesh Baruch Hu, he teaches us that Kodesh Baruch Hu with all the people around him, like mamash chutz tzara. Says there's another pasuk, me'acha el na'aras besod kedoshim rabba ve'nora al kol seviva. What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very takif and chazak, right, on everything that he puts his mishpatav on all the people around him. He's very, very strict upon it. That means people think that the closer you are, the easier it is. Opposite. The closer you are, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu is medatek in chasidav. You understand? That's what it is. Huh? Mishnah Kukafalef Mubet. Afidu Shama min Anashim Omrod Met Ish Ploni. Even if a person hears from women that they're saying, this person died, it's enough to come and to testify that the person died and to permit his wife. So imagine you're going around in a certain country, right, and all of a sudden you hear the women of the country saying, this guy died. Now you know the guy, right? So you could actually come back home and testify to the wife. I heard from the women, right? It's called Edmi Pied, right? That means one witness from another witness. Yeah, but what? That it's going to be okay. The Yudah says, Afilu Shama min Tirokot, even you hear from children saying it. They're going to the burial, right? Which is very interesting. Because here it's mashma, the masha, even children will go to burials, to funerals, right? Ben shu mitkaven, mention whether he's mitkaven to give testimony or not. That means, stop, they're just talking. Same thing. Israel, afal pishu mitkaven. By a Jew, it's either even if he has kavanah or not. By a goy, it's only if he's not having kavanah to be made. Meaning, if he has kavanah to testify, then no. If some the goy is just talking, and you heard it from a goy, you can believe the goy, and then you go and you testify, right? But if he has kavanah, then no, you know that. Says the Gemara. 1 second, right? The din malavasot loaz. Says 1 second. Maybe at the end they never went. Why don't we suspect the bemet? They thought that the guy died, and he didn't die. So it means they're only saying we're going to bury this guy. But at the end, they didn't go to bury him. Some of Yehuda says to Yehuda Meshmuel named Meshmuel, to calmly that they said, no, we're coming back from the Hesped and from burying this person. So says maybe it was some whatever it was, some chagav or nimala, right? That's some that's and they put it on the guy's name. That means it wasn't like counts as like a grasshopper or like an ant. It wasn't mamash, that the guy died. So the Kamli ken the banana what ken the the children were saying that the rabbis were there and there were saftarim there. It wasn't just that a little grasshopper died and they start saying we're going to bury Mr. So and so because he looks like a grasshopper, and then no. They said the rabbis were there. They said that there were saftarim there. Fine. Then what do we say in the Mishnah? That if the Oved Kochavim has the mind to testify, no. Some Rabbi Mishmuel said, Mishmuel lo shanu ela shenitkaven la'atir. If he has kavanah to come and to permit the wife to get married, then no. But if he just has kavanah to testify, he is going to be believed. Ask the Gemara, how do we know? Rav Yosef says to Yosef, if a person came to the din and he says, Ish ploni met, this person died, get his wife married off, that means he's nitkaven la'atir. But if he just comes to the din and he says, no, bet stam, this guy died, is nitkaven la'edut, then he has kavanah for edut, and then we do believe. Itmar Nami was stated also by he says Shoshan we're talking about, and the Kavela Atir, he is coming out to permit. And the Kavela Eid, but if he has coming out to testify, edut, it is going to be a good edut. But Rabbi Yochanan argues. Rabbi Yochanan look at Masechet Oshaya Be'Revi, she tris im 85 zekinim. Do you know that it once happened? That Rabbi Yochanan tells us Shakish that it happened with the Oshaya Rebbe Agadol, that he argued with 85 zekinim on this, and he told, right, Shamar lahem Rav Oshaya lo shanu l'nikaven latir, l'nikaven la'id is to edut, but the rabbis did not agree to it. They didn't want to accept it whatsoever. And the halakha is like them. It's the Rabbi. It's 85 against 1. So obviously the halakha is like them. So ela matnitin diptanu bevet ocham yam nikaven edut or right en eduto ech mishtach. Let's see what's the case. So he says menestiach leputum. Stop, he's just talking. Nobody has kavanah to testify. Stop. The boy is talking about this guy died, this guy was born, this guy this. Just talking like that. Kiyahu dava kama vazid. Somebody came and said, Man ika be'chivai. Right? Man ika be'chivai. Is there anybody here from the house of be'chivai? Right? From the family? Shechi be'chivai. He said, no, he died. And Savaro said, me too. So Rabbi Yosef came and he got the wife married off. Because the fact that he just said, no, the guy died, you didn't have kavanah to testify. Stop. They're asking you, you were looking for this person. Oh, I'm so sorry, he passed away. That's it. That was already enough. Woe to this parasha Zariz that he passed away. Yosef got married off. Right? This is like the famous thing about the famous warrior or whatever it is. It said Misken, he passed away. Okay. Somebody was going and saying, Man ika bechasa. Is there anybody from Bet Chasa? Tavachasa. What are you talking about? He drowned. Rav Nachman Elokim. Achlu kavre lechasa. Dagim they ate chasa. Midured Rav Nachman also did to the chasa and tzva. They went and they got her married off. But they didn't say anything, which means they didn't take her out from the second husband. So he says, Amar Rashi says, Mami, we learn from here. That which the rabbi say, the mind shelam so, that if a person falls in mind, the wife is prohibited. It's only lechatchila she's not allowed to get married. But if she did get married, lo mapkilna mina, we don't take her out from the second husband. There are those that say, on Savar Nachman's view, he did get her married off. Lamar, because he said, Chasa Gavar Rabbi Ite, he's a very big person. If he didn't come out, there's a call, right? There's a big voice, and everyone's going to hear, the big rabbi was saved. Eloi, but it's not true. Rabbi, this doesn't mean whether it's a great person or not. The diavad, if you already got married to somebody else, we just leave it. We don't, we leave her to stay married. But lechatchila, we don't let them get married. Next story. There was a story of a goy that he went and he told the Jew, Ketolas pasta ushti lechave b'shabata. Cut. Shachat. Shachat is like, I forgot how you say it in English. Grain. It's a grain. It's the first part of the grain. They usually give it to the animal feed. So cut the shachat and throw it in front of my animals on Shabbat. Now, if not, I'm going to kill you like I killed the other Jew. Now, he said the Jew's name. So as you see from here, that the Goy is coming and saying, if you don't come and do this, I'm going to kill you just like I killed the other Jew. So now, can you testify? So no. So now, do we say, or cook for me this, put on Shabbat. If not, I'm going to kill you, right, just like I killed him. So the wife of the first guy heard this, so he came in front of Abai. So Abai pushed off the psak din, right, in order to ask it on the Rabbanim during the Chagig, when everybody comes together. So then they wanted to find out what's halakha, or not. Did you understand what happened? That means the woman heard that the Goy saying that he killed her husband, and he's telling to this Jew, you either do this or I'm going to kill you like I killed this guy. Now the wife heard, so that she's coming saying, can she get married? Because obviously the guy didn't want to say testimony. He was just giving a warning. The fact that he said the name, do we believe him or not? So they went to Abai. Tomorrow, right, we'll find out what exactly is